I said you have the first question, so you mind vocalizing it?
Yeah, there's a group for engineering productivity. Is that the GitLab development kit, GDK, or is that something else?
So great question, thank you. I believe the further charter of the development kit, the GDK, is going to be moved in its own group. Currently, the developer productivity team is focused on the pipeline stability, making sure we are running tests in the right place, making sure master is stable, review apps, engineering metrics, and also triage packages, and making sure we auto-label things correctly and that the issues are flowing to the correct team and group.
Yeah, so it's everyone is trying to make sure the tests are running. That's also the task of the other people, I assume. So this is more making sure that the right team gets the feedback and then routing it to the right team.
Yes, that's correct. One of the processes we improve with this iteration is we are going to triage the broken master failures. We're the ones that triage, but then we will route it to the correct team if that team needs to fix or that group needs to fix the error that's currently breaking master.
Cool. Is there a better name than engineering productivity? Because that's the GDK team is doing that. The other teams are doing that. We're all trying to achieve that goal.
That's a great question. We picked engineering productivity because that is a common industry term for a team under quality. I'm open to suggestions, whether it's optimization or velocity. I'm open to ideas.
I'm thinking something more specific, like if it's routing the right request, it's routing or triaging or something like that.
That's good.
For just the master green team, always green. Always green.
Always green team. We're also looking at metrics. So I don't know how, if we calibrate too much on just the triage, then we miss out, because we're also building dashboards for Christopher. Christopher is saying stuff should just work team, which thanks, Christopher. I don't have a good idea at this point. But yes, that's a point that we can definitely iterate on. Maybe ideas from the people of the rest of the call? I guess not. Sorry, Sid, I'm not sure if I cut you off.
Oh, no. I'm done. And yeah, I also wonder what other people think.
Mac, I haven't written in the question yet, which I'll write in after or verbalize it. You mentioned in the challenges and backlog, a number of things. I'd be curious about FY21 proposal for headcount, if any of those areas help in that. Like you talk about the overall workload, but I wondered if there was something specifically in the FY21 plan that will help with that as well.
Yes, so I appreciate that question. We are investing more in the dev area of the product, and I believe the ratio is moving a lot closer. I think it's now one software engineering test. Sorry, it's 0.6 or 0.7 software engineering tests per one product manager. The ideal ratio in the handbook that we have is 1-to-1. It's not in the ideal ratio yet. I believe we're being frugal and being cautious to where we scale. So it's improving a lot better than before. Just for context, we only have 5 right now in dev. I think by FY21 it's going to be 10, and with coverage in the very in the bread and butter areas that we get compared to GitHub a lot. And then we're cautiously scaling up in growth where it's still experimental and also investing in ops and CI/CD. So bottom line, we're still growing and growing to plan faster than other teams, but I think we're being cautious. And I believe with the nature of GitLab, we are flexible in adjusting mid-year. So like if discussions come up around if we need more people or any headcount resets, then we'll adjust quickly. Does that answer the question, Christopher?
I think so. I think the only other question is like, are there any new areas or things that you want to tackle in FY21 that the headcount helps afford you? You mentioned at the bottom things we still haven't gotten to, or is that just that would be the list you would attack?
That will help unblock a bunch of us, because we would love to have planning planning ahead of the kickoff, and we just can't do that right now because we don't have enough people. Once you don't do the trash rotation and things pile up with the broken tests and handing off to the delivery team, so we need more people there. And I am planning some measurements around here. Like for example, if this is successful, we will measure if a number of feature requests that has gone through any S-step review, measure that and see if those numbers improve, and we compare that with how better we're faring with the number of bugs and etc. But that is something in the future that we'll be doing after improving on hiring.
Thanks for that answer.
Yep, my pleasure. Thank you. Jarf, user, would you like to vocalize?
Hey, Mac. Sure, but I think I already have the answer. I was curious about the success rate of master, which, to be honest, was a bit shocking to see it so low. I know that it's actually been low for some time now, and I looked at Periscope to see, and it's about the same. And I was just looking through the issues, which the issue link, which is really helpful. I can see that there are a lot of infrastructure related issues, so I'll dig into that a little bit more. If anyone else has some other comments about like the biggest challenge and the biggest thing we can help to improve this, I'd be curious to hear.
Yeah, let me, I think Kyle's on the call, so I'll preface and then have him follow up. I believe we identified a few issues. There's two themes. One is actually the test failing itself that we need to fix with the flakiness. And the other side of things is the infrastructure, the runner and provisioning that we also have work streams going to development to prioritize. Kyle, you want to pick it up and give more context here on what we're doing?
Yeah. So I just to add a little bit more, I'd say making sure that we're running the right tests. So one of the things that we did over the last few months was make schedule packaging QA allowed to fail. We noticed a lot of instability in the pipeline. So we reverted that and then sent the notifications over to the rest of the quality department to review. Now we have a lot of those infrastructure issues, which are, I would say, which cause a high likelihood of a bystander effect. So if you look in development, for example, there's a large amount of notifications for pipeline failures that don't really go addressed because the reason for failures isn't really clear. So we're looking to clean that up as a part of what Meg referred to. I'll link to it in the group call as well. But clarifying roles and responsibilities and SLOs tied to triaging that. Really just focusing on trying to stabilize the infrastructure issues, as well as just be very, very diligent in when we quarantine tests and looking to unquarantine tests as well.
Great, thank you. And I have the next one as well. I had a similar question for a review app success rate. And I also looked at Periscope, and it looks like December is like 70%. So I guess maybe something has changed and it's gotten better. But I'm also kind of curious, maybe just a quick, what is the biggest challenge for this metric?
I will divert to Kyle because I believe a lot of work from the EB team has been done here to alert and improve things.
Yeah, so over the last few months, we really, I would say, refined our request, like resource requests and resource limits for each component in the GitLab chart. And that helped stabilize the load on the cluster. And then I think the other thing we experimented with is deploying more frequent review apps. So once maybe one or two jobs in test failed, it would move right to review the image build and review deploy. And that caused a very large increase in the workload that was placed on the cluster, which would lead to these spikes of instability, where resources could not be scheduled, which led to timeouts, decreasing that review app deployment success rate. So now we've kind of looked at fine tuning. When do we deploy a review app? What are the resources so that the cluster scales much better, which is what's led to the increase. I think it's around 70, 71%, I think, as of yesterday, up from 29% success rate in September.
Very cool. Thank you. Next is Sid.
Yeah, very exciting to see K3S being used for tests. Are we thinking about using it in GDK? And is it a pipe dream, or is it possible to use it eventually in Omnibus, so everything uses our Helm chart?
So the sequence is correct, Sid. I'll add in that there's probably one more for testing is to use it in CI. Actually, it's the inverse right now. Dan is actually making it to work in the GDK as a first step, because that is closer to developers. Once that's done, we move to testing. I believe we haven't looked at making it work in Omnibus in the Helm chart yet, but we could definitely look into that as the next iteration.
Yeah, one step at a time, and I'm not sure how our users will like that, but I think it's an interesting way forward.
Yep, I think we've done some analysis, and it would cut down the runtime of our end-to-end test as well, because right now the end-to-end test for Auto DevOps uses an actual GCP Kubernetes cluster. Using the K3D in a Docker container would cut down that runtime by significantly. So we're excited for that as well.
Yeah, getting more Auto DevOps end-to-end tests is super valuable. So great to hear that.
Thank you. Christopher, you have the next one?
Yeah, sorry, lots of questions today. Just kind of glancing through the reference architecture slides, there's a lot of great accomplishments there. Really excited about that area because that shows the scalability of our product. One thing that I have seen recently is just the fact that we're ingesting a lot of customers with very large loads. And I may have missed it, but was there a note in there about looking at importing performance, for lack of a better term?
Yes, we just discussed this in our staff meeting this morning on making sure that it's not some tool outside the product that's actually migrating or importing users. It should be the import features and having import performance tests around those. I don't believe we have an issue for this, or if we do, we'll link it back. But yes, this is on our hot discussion topics as well. Thanks for calling it out, Christopher. Appreciate that.
No problem.
Actually, I had to do for myself here while waiting for questions to follow up with you on the issue for that.
So Mac Todd here. I have a question for you. I'm not quite sure how to articulate, so I'll do the best I can. But with you transitioning to sets or SDETs, do you find that you're getting better people in the pipeline? And I ask because in the past, I've actually struggled to fill these roles. So I don't know if you're having better luck or worse luck or what have you, and I'd be curious to know about that.
I think it's a lot easier for us to do sourcing and getting the candidates interested in applying, because then the title is just matched and it's a natural match. Versus before, you have to explain that, oh yeah, it's actually an SDET, but we're still using this title. So it has improved the communication with the candidates so far. We have been we've been able to make hiring, I don't say goals, but we have been able to make some significant progress in hires. So I think it's been helpful with the headroom increase in the benchmark. Also gives us more flexibility in accommodating a more industry aligned, I would say, compensation or amount. So yes, I think it has been helpful, but we won't know for sure that it's been 2x or 3x until we hire aggressively go into next year. But so far it's been good so far in the hiring front. As you can see from the slides, I think we have 5 new people joining us. I'm very excited for that as well, with 2 managers starting on January 6th for growth and ops CI/CD.
Awesome, thank you.
Great. If there are no more questions, I'm going to propose that we end the call and give time back. So thank you, everybody. Happy holidays. We'll see you again after the New Year's. If you have any comments for us, feel free to chime in the issues and we will respond. Thank you very much, everyone.